Persistence is the title for today. Persistence. We're going to be in the book of James, chapter 1, verses 2 to verse 4. Persistence. So jumping is fun, isn't it? Unless you have arthritis, right? Then it's no longer. There was a merchant, a very successful merchant, who was approached by a young man who asked him, what's the secret of success, of your success? He says, well, in my case, I have to be able to jump at success. So really the secret to success is just jumping at it when you see it. And the boy asked, but when do you know that success is coming? And to that, the merchant said, you don't. You just keep on jumping. You just keep on jumping, and when it comes by, you will be ready. And then you will be successful. And jumping sounds like a fun thing to do, unless you just keep on doing it, and doing it, and doing it. Like riding that pony might seem a fun thing to do. It's even fun to watch. But imagine that you were that girl, and that your goal was to jump on that pony. How would you feel? Would you have quit at some point before she did? Or would you have persisted like she did to the point that she actually was able to reach her goal, her objective? Obviously, when things get rough, when things get difficult, it is also even more difficult to stay persistent. And the question is, how can you stay persistent in the midst of difficulties in life, which I know you're going through, and so am I. James, chapter 1. Verses 2 to verse 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. This is a very short passage in which James is treating the subject of trials. And James called trials or testing two different things. One, temptations. This temptation can be a type of a test. God never tempts anyone. But at the end of it, you grow. And then there is that testing for the sake of knowing where you are at so that you can grow. That, for instance, is the type of testing that is performed at schools. They get to see where you are at. And based on how you perform on those tests, they decide, well, you need to go up. You need to work harder. You need to go down. And you always want to go up. The Greek term is peritzo. And it's used actually for both, for all of these different kinds of testing or trials or even temptation. There are two natures of them. One is the external testing or trial, which is there are forces external to you that are going to try to move you one way or another. And then there is an internal force, which is the different kind, which will move you to either decide to face the circumstance, the situation, or to surrender to it. In our passage, James is telling us two things that are very important for us to keep in mind. The first thing is that we are to be joyful when trials come. And to me, that sounds really bizarre. You know, Christianity have that ability of just saying things and teaching things that logically make no sense, right? Like, love your enemy. Does that make sense? No. I remember not too long ago, actually, I had an interaction with somebody who said, get close to those that love you and away from those who hate you. Right? Is there anything strange in that? Isn't that what everybody does anyway? You know? And then I told this person, except that God calls us to love our enemies. And then one could answer, well, I just love my enemies from far away, from the distance. Except that love is procuring, ensuring, and doing everything in one's power to help the other person in any way possible. Is to perform the good to that person. Now, how can I do that from the distance? I don't know. How can I be encouraging and loving when I don't even see you because I'm avoiding you? I don't know. So you see, Christianity has that special ability of telling us things that are socially controversial and tend to not make logical sense, right? Like, rejoice in trials, verse 2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds. Kind of like, hey, when someone is sick, that's pure joy, right? When someone died, someone you love, someone close to you passes, I consider that pure joy. When there is unemployment, consider that pure joy. When there are problems in your life, consider that pure joy. And that seems to me not make sense, does it? We have pure joy when things go the way we want them to go, not the way that goes against our desires. What is interesting about this point that James makes is that he is not isolated in saying it. The Apostle Paul taught the same thing. Peter taught the same thing. And even Jesus agreed in this area. There is joy to be found in the midst of trials. When things are difficult, you are to be joyful. Is this challenging to you? Or is it just challenging to me? I tell you what happened Monday. I went to a nice restaurant with a very close friend of mine, and I had some really nice food. But I think I ended up with food poisoning. And that happened next day. Like, it was just terrible. Besides that, there's been like the stomach flu virus going around. Well, that stuff ended up in my house, so I believe I ended up with both things. And so this week had been just miserable to me. I didn't leave the house, and I lost about 10 pounds in 1 week. So you know what's the secret to lose weight? Get sick. You will? That's the secret. Don't have to pay a bunch of money. Just get sick. Well, anyway, that ended up happening to me. And I just was thinking, Lord, please get this situation out of me. I want to be done with it. Yet, James says, let me read it again to you so you keep track, so you don't lose track of what he says. He says, consider it pure joy. Now, what is pure joy? So basically, I probably ate maybe 2,000 calories last week because I have an appetite. But yesterday I felt better. And I told my wife, let's go to IHOP. They just opened one in Indianapolis, And every time after church, that stuff is packed, so we've never been there on Sundays. And so, is that you who go there after church? It's packed. Every Sunday is packed. But anyway, we just went there, and that was joyful. Like, I enjoyed myself eating what I ate. That was fun. Consider it pure joy, but in this case, it's not the food, but the sickness. See how that is very shocking to say? And that's the first point that James says. You are to enjoy, to find joy, to rejoice in the midst, in the face of trials. How can you and I accomplish such a difficult thing? But this is a truth that James repeats twice in the same chapter. We read it in verse 2, but then in verse 12. If we were to join those two passages, this is what verse 2 says, right? Consider all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials. But then verse 12 says, blessed is the man who perseveres under trial. Twice. Now, you probably remember that James, the writer of this book, was actually the physical human brother of Jesus. And when he writes verse 12, he uses a word that is very familiar to us. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial. Where do we find that? Matthew 5, the Beatitudes, the words of Jesus, where he says, blessed are the poor, blessed are whatever. And in this case, James is using the same language. Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial. How is this a blessing? And how can I rejoice in the face of my troubles? The second point that James makes in this passage we read, verses 2 to 4 in chapter 1 of James, is that trials will come. Many people come to Jesus expecting to stay away from trouble. If I was to come to Jesus, then nothing bad will come to me, they will think. And promises of all sorts are made to those when they come to Jesus. You come to Jesus, no more financial trouble, they tell you. If you come to Jesus, you will never get sick, they would say. But James is telling us the opposite. If you are to consider it pure joy when trouble comes, it's just assuming that they will come, right? So being a Christian, it does not give you immunity from issues, from trials of any sort. In fact, the fact that you are to consider it pure joy when they come is to make you desire that they come. For things that bring joy are things that we desire. But why? And how? Troubles will come. Matthew chapter 5, verse 11. In there we find the beatitude of Jesus saying, "Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me." Wow. And you love your reputation. And Jesus said, if they actually are eating you alive behind your back and stabbing you and have killed you a few times without you even knowing it, you are blessed. Not because you are just a very difficult person to deal with, but because of Jesus, because of your faithfulness to Him. Trials, difficulties in our Christian life, they will come. They will come. And there is a blessing in them. Because you see in verse 4 of James 1, it gives you the blessing. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Wow. Mature, complete, not lacking anything. That comes as a result of the trials that come when you persevere the trial. And that is the key here. And that is why you are to be overjoyed or consider it pure joy when trials come, because there is a blessing that comes along with the trial if you persevere. Now, obviously, the taste of victory, we say, is sweeter when the fight is bitter, right? The more difficult the fight, the more we enjoy the victory. The easier the task, the sooner you forget the task, right? The more difficult, the more memorable. Trials, they will come, and they will bless you if you persevere under the trial. And I tell you this, the perseverance under the trials requires a warrior's heart. I believe all of us, in a sense, are fighters, right? And we have to fight. We're all probably going through some stuff right now, sickness. We know someone who's ill. We ourselves might be ill. We're going through the loss of someone we love. Maybe we're having big changes coming, big transitions in our lives. What do? In the face of trials, there are only two options. One is you submit to it, or you overcome it, right? For in fact, ignoring the trials doesn't do anything. So you either submit or you overcome. To overcome, you have to fight. And there is no fight without perseverance. Perseverance. It does demand a warrior's heart, doesn't it? And it makes the victory sweet. Perseverance. And that is why, for instance, the apostles will go on to brag on the Lord because they went through some difficult things. In the book of Acts, for instance, the Bible talks about the apostles being whipped and then going home praising God for being taken worthy of suffering for the cause of Christ. What? Perseverance. Because they remained faithful to Him in the midst of the pain. And in the midst of their pain, there was a God that we call Emmanuel, who never leaves us nor forsakes us. It is when we are in the trials that we can sense, we can experience the presence of God. When things are okay, do you even pray? Do you pray so that the Lord will help you walk out of church today? Oh, Lord, help me put my sandals in the right foot once I get up. Do you do that? No, because this is something you have absolute control over. Now, when things get rough, that's when you pray. And that's where God shows himself to be God. And he shows his powerful hands, and he blesses you. And as he blesses you, your faith grows. And as your faith grows, you become mature in your walk with Christ. And then God becomes so sufficient for you that you don't need anything but him. Verse 4. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. We just say, if you have Jesus, you have everything. If you don't have Jesus, you have nothing, right? This is a famous saying. Why do we have everything if we have Jesus? Because he is sufficient for us. Amen. He's enough. You could have all the money and not satisfaction, but Jesus is enough for us. You can have all the companionship you think you have and no friendship, but Jesus is enough for us. Some people walk with you, but they are not with you, but Jesus is enough for us. You see, there's a difference here. You will lack nothing because Jesus will be enough for you, because your faith in him has brought you to that level of maturity. And so you can see that maybe you are not there. And that is the goal, to be mature to that point where you can say, I don't need anything. Can you say that? Oh, that takes a lot to say, I don't need anything. I don't need anything. But you could say, I don't want anything. That's a different thing, right? But the passage says, lacking. There is nothing that is absent. Jesus is enough for you. And that is a very desirable level of maturity. I tell you this. You know, the mangoes are delicious, especially when they are mature. Right? When they reach that level of maturity in the tree says, you are ready. I know some of you like the green mangoes, right? Why do you like that? Mangoes were not meant to be eaten greens, right? I prove that to you right now. They were not meant to be eaten green. The mango grows. It grows green. And the tree says, you need me. You need growth. What color do they grow? When the little mango is forming, what color is it? Green, and remain green as long as it stays in the tree, right? But then it starts changing colors, and the tree basically says, you're good to go now. And it goes, and it falls, and it's done. And it tastes sweet and delicious, doesn't it? Oh man, I'm going to the Dominican Republic tomorrow. And there's a big mango tree where I'm going. And you hear those mangoes falling on the roofs. Those are delicious. And they are free. When the mango is mature, it doesn't need anything, does it? And trials bring us to that level. The level of maturity. And so, you have to be overjoyed in the face of trials. First, be joyful that they come. Second, they will come. And third, perseverance takes you to the next level. Let me tell you this. We all facing something, I know. But there is a next level. And we want to move. I mean, we're grateful that we're here. But we want to go there because there is more. So obviously we are not content where we're at. We're grateful, but we're not content, right? That's why we're moving, because there is more. And so how can we transition from here to there where there is more? Trials take you there. And so the Lord is giving us the tools that you and I need so that we can go to the next level where there is more. There is so much more that when you get there, there is nothing that you need. Everything is provided because Jesus is enough. And so I encourage you today to be persistent. Persist under the trials that you're facing. How are marital problems solved? Through persistence. That's how. The one who say, I'm done, is that person persisting? No. Persistence is what makes the difference. It is what makes difference at work. It is what makes difference at home. And it is what makes the difference in our spiritual life as well. And so I encourage you to go to the next level where there is more. But to do that, you are to be persistent. Frustration will kick in. I saw the girl in the video, and she looked back at her mama, and she kind of had a smile. But there was probably a level of frustration there. Because she probably tried, 20 times in that video? I'm sure the little horse was not happy. She was pulling right from the horse so that she could climb it. But she persisted, and therefore she conquered. Frustration will kick in today and tomorrow and next day. And the desire to quit will also come to you. But remember, success requires our warrior's heart, and you have one. And I know that, yes, we are here, and we are grateful but not content. And so we're going to come there where there is more. Persistence will take you to the next level. And when frustration comes today, tomorrow, next day, persist. Persist. Do not give up. Do not give up. For it is there that you will sense the presence of God. I want to ask our worship team to please come forward. So what are you going to do today? Tomorrow, next week, when things get rough, you persist. You persist. Imagine Jesus would have given up before going to the cross. His persistence brought life to the world. And it is your persistence through faith in Jesus that will bring you to the next level where there is enough. Make that decision today as we stand up. If you have not surrendered your life to Jesus, there is more for you as well. Come to Him today and give Him your all, and He will save you and give you life that is worth living. Surrender your heart to Jesus and become one with Him today. Make that decision as we sing.